We do have some numbers out for this week if we spin things ahead to week 10 in the NFL as we turn the halfway point. Thursday night game, Raiders at Broncos. What do I make this game? I'll look at what I make all the games this week, and I'll give you my early lines. I make it 9.5, so not really much value there. Let me pull up the line so I have them all in front of me, and I can see where I'm off. I can see if I have any value here. Yeah, let's get some early Week 9 predictions. Falcons at Colts, I make it 4.5. It's 5.5. You would think maybe we're getting, again, still maybe a little bit ahead of our skis with this Colts team. I would probably lean to the Colts there, or excuse me, to the Falcons there, especially if we get if we push towards 6. Giants at Bears, I make it 8.5. The line's 3.5. Something's off there. Maybe my rating on Chicago is just way too high. I would still probably bet the Bears, though. I would. Even though I'm down on Chicago as a team, I think the Giants' offense is kind of lifeless right now. Bucks at Patriots, I make that game 1.5. It's 2.5. I'll probably still be on Tampa. I'm probably not as high. I probably need to be a little higher on Tampa. Coming off the bye, getting a little healthy. I probably should boost Tampa a point. And I think under a field goal, I think you bet Tampa in that spot. Ravens at Vikings, 3.5. I make it 3.5. Not really much. Not really much there. You would expect Baltimore to win, but hey, McCarthy looked pretty good last week. So maybe Baltimore at north of 3. Got to be a little careful there. Jags at Texans. I had this spot circled since the summer, and the CJ Stroud injury ruined it. The reason I had this spot circled since the summer, teams coming off a game in Vegas that are going on the road the following week, we call it the Vegas flu game, are 1-14 against the spread since the Raiders moved to Vegas like 5 years ago. But of course, we have no idea if CJ Stroud's going to play. Texans are a 1-point favorite right now. I have him at 3.5, but that's with CJ Stroud. I have no idea if CJ Stroud's going to play. If he does play, I bet Houston. For sure bet Houston. Really low total game too. The Texans defense is legit. The Texans need that game real bad. And the Jags coming off a win in overtime, back on the road. Like, it's a terrible spot for Jacksonville, but I just have no idea if CJ Stroud's going to play. The Bills are a big favorite at Miami, 9.5. I make that game 9.5. So I'm not going to do much there. Panthers, 5.5-point favorite over the Saints. I make that game 10.5. I depress my team. That's why I'm really low on the Giants too. Like, when I'm down on a team, I am aggressive on that team to the downside. Maybe I upgraded Carolina a little too much for their win yesterday. But if it's a 5-point difference between my line and the sportsbook line, I have to bet it. I have to bet Carolina -5. We're down clearly on the Saints. We're very down on the Saints. The Jets are a 2-point favorite against the Browns. I make it 1.5. Not going to really do much there. Seahawks 7-point favorite over Arizona. I make it 6.5. Probably not going to do much there. Obviously, Seattle, you upgrade Seattle big after yesterday, and we just don't know what Arizona is going to be with Kyler back. We'll see what we get from Arizona on Monday night. Rams, a 3.5-point road favorite at San Francisco. I make it 6.5. I'm really down on San Francisco's numbers, guys. I just don't think. Well, to be fair, hold on. I'm at 6.5 with Mac Jones. I'll probably be closer to a field goal if they get Purdy back in. Right now, I am. Where am I at with Purdy? I've got Mac Jones. Actually, only 2 points downgrade from Purdy. So maybe I'd be at 4.5. So maybe there would be a little bit of value still on the on the Rams at 3.5. But still, it's right around the key number. Not really interested in playing it. I think it's San Francisco or pass, frankly. If Purdy plays. We'll see what the number does with Purdy. Right now, if it's Mac, let's leave it at this. If it's Mac Jones again and the line stays at 3.5, I'm betting the Rams at 3.5 with Mac Jones at quarterback for San Francisco. Detroit is an 8.5-point favorite at Washington. I make it 10.5, and I did make the adjustment for Mariota because obviously Jaden Daniels is out for probably the year. That was a gruesome injury yesterday. Brutal. Why was he even in the game? You have to really ask yourself that question. Why was he even? I got to go back and watch the interview with Dan Quinn to find out why he was even in that game, down 38-7, and it's the fourth quarter, and he's coming off an injury. Why is he even in that game? And now he's probably done for the year. They also lost McCaffrey and Lattimore last night. Just a brutal night for Washington last night. Bounce back spot for Detroit. I'll probably be on the Lions this week. I make it 10.5, and it's 8.5. So I'll probably be on Detroit, anything south of double digits. Chargers, a 2.5 point. Really, it's 3. 3-point favorite over Pittsburgh at home. I make it 2.5. Probably not going to do much there. Although I kind of think the Chargers at home, if we get under a field goal, I think it's a bad spot for Pittsburgh coming off the win at Indy. And then finally, the Monday night game, Green Bay, a 2.5 point favorite over Philly. I make the game basically a pick 'em. I make it basically a pick 'em. So maybe if we get a 3, I'll be on the Eagles. But at 2.5, probably not something I'm really interested in. All right, that is my look for Week 10 in the NFL. You had 4 teams on bye: Bengals, Titans, Cowboys, and Chiefs. So 14 games coming up this week. It'll start Thursday night in Denver. But I would say right now my best looks in terms of the games that are most off from the market, I think Carolina over the Saints. And I think the Bears over the Giants. Those are the games that are the most off from my ratings. And then we'll see what happens with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. But I might be on the Rams if it is. It's also a revenge spot for the Rams after they lost to San Francisco at home a few Thursdays ago. Yeah, I think I like the Rams in that game, especially if Purdy, even if Purdy comes back. That's the thing about quarterback injuries. The first game a quarterback comes back is not always an upgrade. It takes him a half to get going. Maybe that's the play. Maybe we play Rams in the first half against the Niners next week if Purdy comes back, right? Because if Purdy gets upgraded, maybe that line goes down to 3. Maybe we get under a field goal in the first half. I think Rams first half is going to be a bet for me next week as we look ahead. Week 10 in the NFL.